Open war has officially erupted between Pakistan and Afghanistan, and the explosions are rocking Kabul right now.
As of today, Friday, February 27, 2026, the long simmering tension we've been tracking, it didn't just break, it exploded. Pakistan's defense minister, Khawaja Asif, has officially declared open war.
Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we are unpacking a crisis that honestly feels like it's been boiling under the surface for years. We've got a stack of fresh reports here, military communiques, intelligence briefings, and some very stark warnings from the U.S. State Department.
Right.
And our mission today is to figure out why this specific border is suddenly on fire and what it means for you and the rest of the world. Because looking at the conservative strategic analysis we have, the stakes are massive.
They really are.
Yeah.
And to be clear right at the top, this isn't just border skirmishes anymore. We aren't talking about a few warning shots across a fence. Last night, Pakistani jets actually bombed the Afghan capital, Kabul.
Wow.
Yeah, they hit Kandahar, they hit Paktia. This is full-on aerial warfare between two sovereign nations.
That is a massive escalation. Usually you see these proxy fights, but airstrikes on a major capital city, that completely changes the game.
It changes all the calculus. And the Taliban didn't just sit there and take it. They launched unprecedented aerial attacks, drone strikes, targeting Islamabad and Pakistani military bases.
So it's spilling right out of the remote borderlands into the major population centers. I'm looking at the casualty numbers in these briefings, and they are grim.
Very grim.
And conflicting, obviously. Pakistan claims they killed 274 Taliban fighters. But the Taliban claims they killed 55 Pakistani soldiers and captured 8 more.
Yeah, the fog of war is incredibly thick right now. But while the exact numbers conflict, the why is coming into focus. Pakistan says its patience finally ran out with terrorists hiding in Afghanistan, and the Taliban says they are defending their sovereignty.
But to really understand this, we have to look past those headlines. Let's get right into the action. This kicked off with a specific Pakistani military operation, right? Operation Ghazab-ul-Haq.
Right, which translates to righteous fury.
That is a serious name.
It fits the intensity of the action. Pakistan's military really didn't hold back. They destroyed 27 Taliban posts. They crushed ammunition depots.
Yeah.
This was a heavy-handed, targeted strike designed to eliminate a very specific threat.
And we need to be clear about who that threat is, because I think for a lot of people, the word Taliban just sounds like one big group.
Right.
But the security reports emphasize a distinction here that really matters. You're talking about the TTP.
Exactly. We are talking about the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, the TTP. These are the Pakistani Taliban. They are a distinct group from the Afghan Taliban who rule Kabul, although they are ideological cousins.
Okay.
The TTP are bad actors who want to overthrow the Pakistani government. They want to establish their own radical rule inside Pakistan.
But here's where I get stuck, and I know a lot of our listeners might be wondering this too. Pakistan supported the Afghan Taliban for years. They helped them get back into power in Kabul. So why is the Afghan Taliban now protecting the exact people who want to destroy Pakistan?
It's the classic Frankenstein's monster scenario. Pakistan thought they could control the Afghan Taliban. They assumed, hey, if we help you take Kabul, you will secure our western border for us.
Right.
But the Afghan Taliban operates on tribal loyalty, a code called Pashtunwali.
Pashtunwali, that's the tribal code.
Yes. And a key pillar of that code is sanctuary, hospitality. The TTP fighters are their brothers. They share tribal ties. They fought together against the U.S. and NATO. So when Pakistan demands they hand over these terrorists, the Afghan Taliban basically says, we cannot betray our brothers.
So culture is completely trumping geopolitics.
Precisely. And Pakistan is absolutely furious. They feel betrayed. They spent years cultivating this relationship. And now the Afghan Taliban is providing a safe haven for the TTP to launch attacks into Pakistan.
And those attacks have been surging. The statistics in this conservative think tank report blew my mind. In 2025 alone, militant attacks in Pakistan surged to 2,425 incidents.
It's staggering. That is nearly 4 times the number from just a few years ago in 2022.
4 times the violence.
4 times the terror. That is exactly what righteous fury is about. Diplomacy didn't stop a single one of those attacks. Qatar tried to mediate. Turkey tried. Soft diplomacy hit a brick wall.
It really highlights the argument from these right-leaning security analysts that you just can't negotiate with someone who wants you dead. You can talk all day, but if they are shooting, force is the only language left.
Exactly. It's a harsh lesson. Pakistan tried the soft approach. They tried peace deals. The result was 2,425 attacks in 1 year. At some point, a nation has to say enough.
So Pakistan launches this operation, crushes these depots, and the Taliban fires back. They seized Pakistani outposts. They're using heavy weaponry. But let's zoom out to the geography for a second, because this is all happening along the Durand Line.
The Durand Line. It sounds like a dusty old map reference, but people are actively dying over it today.
Let's unpack that. Why is this specific line in the sand so contentious?
Well, it goes back to 1893. A British diplomat named Mortimer Durand drew a line about 1,600 miles long to separate British India from Afghanistan.
And I'm guessing they didn't exactly ask the locals for permission.
Not at all. It cut right through the Pashtun tribal lands. Imagine a line drawn straight through your living room, separating you from your family. Afghanistan has never accepted it.
Never.
Never. They call it a colonial relic. They believe that Pashtun land belongs to them, even the parts that are legally inside Pakistan.
So when Pakistan tries to enforce this border, the Taliban sees it as an attack on their history.
Exactly. But here is the conservative reality we are pulling from the sources today. Strong borders matter. If you don't have a border, you don't have a secure country.
Right.
When a country cannot control who comes in and out, it loses its security. This border is incredibly porous. Smugglers move freely. Terrorists move weapons. It is just a highway for chaos.
But Pakistan tried to fix this. They spent a massive amount of money building a border fence.
They did. The border fence project, it was a huge undertaking to secure their sovereignty.
Yeah.
But what does the Taliban do? They just keep tearing it down.
I've seen the reports on that.
Yeah, there are actual videos of Taliban fighters using pickup trucks to rip down chain-link fences because they refuse to accept that the border even exists.
Tearing down your neighbor's fence is bad enough, but shooting at them when they try to rebuild it, that's war.
And that brings us to the airstrikes. Pakistan decided that fencing isn't enough anymore. They are using jets to enforce what the fence couldn't. If you won't respect the line on the map, we will defend it with fire.
But this isn't just about bullets and bombs. Our sources highlight a whole other layer to this war that might be even more devastating: the economic war.
Yes. Economics is the silent battlefield here. Look at the map. Afghanistan is landlocked. If they want to eat, if they want to import medicine or export goods, they need access to the ocean.
And Pakistan holds the keys to the ocean.
Exactly. So Pakistan didn't just bomb the military targets. They slammed the doors shut. They closed the Torkham and Chaman border crossings. Trade has stopped.
I read that trucks are stranded for miles.
Thousands of them. We are talking about perishable goods rotting in the sun. Supplies just not moving. This is an economic stranglehold. Pakistan is actively weaponizing trade to force the Taliban to comply.
It sounds like a medieval siege. You just surround the castle and wait for them to starve.
That is exactly what it is. A modern siege. The Taliban relies on taxes from that trade to fund their entire government. When the trucks stop, the money stops. When the money stops, they can't pay their fighters.
Is it working, though? I mean, the Taliban has other neighbors. They must be trying to find a way around it.
They are desperate. They're trying to pivot trade to Iran, specifically the Chabahar port, and trying to move goods through Central Asia to bypass Pakistan entirely.
But you can't just build a new supply chain overnight. Logistics are a nightmare even in peacetime.
Right. It takes a long time. Moving goods through Iran is significantly more expensive. And in the meantime, this blockade is costing Afghanistan hundreds of millions of dollars a month. It is bleeding them dry.
Pakistan is betting the Taliban runs out of cash before Pakistan runs out of bombs.
It's a brutal calculation.
Let's shift gears to the big player on the world stage. We have to talk about the American angle, because everything we just discussed is happening alongside a massive geopolitical shift. President Trump is back in power.
Yes, and that changes the entire map. The security briefings suggest President Trump looks at this chaos and doesn't see a humanitarian crisis to solve with aid. He sees a strategic failure from the past that needs correcting.
You're talking about Bagram.
Bagram Air Base. For 20 years, that was the absolute crown jewel of American military presence in Central Asia. When the U.S. withdrew, we just handed it over.
A lot of the right-leaning analysts were furious about that. The argument was always that we didn't just leave equipment. We gave up irreplaceable real estate.
Exactly. It wasn't just an airstrip. It was a strategic foothold. It gave the U.S. eyes on China. It gave us a launch pad to crush terrorists in the region without needing to ask anyone else for permission.
And now the reports say Trump is talking about getting it back.
He wants it back. The conservative take from our sources is clear. We gave up a strategic asset in a botched withdrawal. Now, with the region completely on fire, American interests are at risk. We might need that foothold back to protect ourselves and watch our rivals.
But if you are an American listening to this and thinking about the region, the State Department is not messing around right now.
No, they are not. They issued a level 4 do not travel advisory.
That is the highest level they have. What does that actually mean for an American, say a journalist or aid worker, thinking about going there?
It means do not go, period. If you go, you are entirely on your own. The U.S. Embassy operations are suspended. They cannot come get you.
The risks they published are terrifying. Kidnapping, wrongful detention, terrorism.
The Americans are incredibly high-value targets. The Taliban actively surveils travelers. If you are an American citizen, you are a walking target for hostage-taking. There is no cavalry coming to save you if you get snatched in Kabul right now.
That's a very sobering reality check. It's easy to look at a map and forget that for an American, that ground is essentially radioactive.
And it's not just dangerous for us. It's incredibly dangerous for the regional powers, too. Look at China.
Right, China. They share a border with this mess. It's a tiny border, the Wakhan corridor, but it's significant.
Beijing is in an absolute panic. They have pumped billions into the region for the Belt and Road Initiative. They want to build infrastructure, roads, and pipelines connecting China to the Arabian Sea. But here's the reality check. You cannot build roads in a war zone.
So they're losing their investment?
They are losing massive potential. They tried to mediate, just like everyone else. They tried checkbook diplomacy, throwing money at the problem, promising investments in exchange for stability.
Which clearly failed.
Completely failed. It shows the limits of soft power. You cannot buy peace when the other side is ideologically committed to fighting. China is nervous about their money, but they are even more worried about terrorists spilling over the border.
The Uyghur separatists.
Exactly. The idiom. China is terrified that a chaotic Afghanistan becomes a training ground for fighters who want to attack Western China. They want stability at any cost, and they just aren't getting it.
Writing checks doesn't stop bullets.
It really doesn't. And then there is Russia. They've been playing a very strange game here.
Yeah, Russia was the only country that formally recognized the Taliban government, Taliban 2.0.
They tried to fill the void. When the U.S. left, Russia thought, great, this is our backyard now. We'll be the new power broker. But now, even Russia is officially calling for restraint.
That's pretty ironic.
It is. They are realizing that recognizing a regime that can't even control its own borders or stop harboring terrorists might have been a terrible bet. They backed the wrong horse.
The Taliban might be good at fighting an insurgency, but governing a state is a completely different skill set.
That is the key insight from these briefings. You can win a war against an occupier, but can you run a country? Can you secure your borders? Can you stop your allies from bombing your neighbors? Right now, the answer is no.
So let's pull all of this together. We've got military airstrikes, an economic siege, the U.S. pivoting toward Bagram, and regional panic from China and Russia. What does this actually mean for the immediate future?
It means the region has moved way past tension. This is open war. The terrorists targeting Pakistan were left to fester. The Taliban protected them, and now the bill has finally come due.
It feels like a massive lesson in cause and effect.
It is. Weak borders led to this. Failed negotiations led to this. Pakistan is now fighting for its survival against an insurgency it once thought it could manage. They are learning the hard way that you cannot manage terror. You have to defeat it.
And the Taliban is learning that you can't just ignore your neighbor's security concerns forever without consequences.
Right. Pakistan has a superior military. They have an air force and a functioning command structure. In a conventional open war, where Pakistan has air superiority, the Taliban is heavily outgunned.
But they are scrappy. They have been fighting for decades. They outlasted the Soviets and the Americans.
They have. But fighting an insurgency, hiding in the mountains, is very different than defending a fixed city against jet fighters. When you are the government, you have ministries, you have bases, you are a sitting duck.
I want to circle back to the Trump factor one more time. If he is serious about Bagram and Pakistan is hammering the Taliban right now, does that create an opening?
That is the billion-dollar strategic question. If the Taliban is distracted fighting for its life against Pakistan, their grip on the country naturally loosens. Chaos creates vacuums.
And great powers love a vacuum.
Exactly. If the U.S. wanted to secure Bagram, doing it while the Taliban is overstretched would be the exact right time. It would send a massive signal to China saying, we are back and we are watching you.
That definitely aligns with the America First foreign policy perspective we are seeing in these reports. Secure American interests, get the strategic assets, and don't get bogged down in nation building.
It's purely transactional. We don't care how you run your society, but we care if you harbor terrorists, and we care if you let our rivals gain ground.
But re-entering a war zone is never simple.
No, it is highly risky. Yeah. But the Taliban might be weaker than they have ever been. They are getting squeezed militarily and economically. That drone strike on Islamabad, that was a desperate move. It invites a response that could wipe out their infrastructure.
Pakistan destroyed 27 posts in one day. If they keep that pace up,
The Taliban will be pulverized. Pakistan has the ammunition to keep this going.
and the trade blockade ensures they can't easily resupply.
Right. You can't fight a war if your fighters are starving.
Yeah.
The economic weapon might be just as deadly as the jets.
It is a total siege, maximum pressure. So for the listener who is sitting in traffic or at the gym right now, why should they care about a border war halfway around the world?
Because weakness is contagious. The conservative argument here is that if terrorists are allowed to operate freely in Afghanistan, they don't stay there. They plan attacks, they export their ideology, and eventually they target Americans.
We have absolutely seen this movie before.
We ignored Afghanistan in the 90s, thinking it was just a faraway civil war. And we got 9/11. We cannot afford to ignore it again. Strong borders and decisive action against terrorists aren't just talking points. They are survival strategies.
And Pakistan is demonstrating that right now. They reached their breaking point.
They did. It proves that diplomacy has limits. If you want safety, eventually, you have to be willing to fight for it.
What stands out to you the most in all the sources we reviewed today?
The complete silence of the soft power advocates. Qatar, Turkey, the UN, they all called for talks. The talks happened, and the violence only got worse. It proves some conflicts just cannot be solved with a handshake.
That is a sobering reality. Before we wrap up, I want to leave you, the listener, with a final provocative thought to mull over. We talked about Trump eyeing Bagram Air Base.
Yes.
With the entire region in flames and Pakistan effectively declaring war on the Taliban, are we about to see a scenario where the U.S. re-enters Afghanistan, not to stop a war or build a nation, but to surgically secure the strategic assets we never should have given up?
If the Taliban is busy fighting Pakistan, they might not be able to stop a U.S. securing force from landing at Bagram. It would flip the balance of power in Asia overnight.
It would be the ultimate irony. The Taliban fought for 20 years to get us out, only to create a disaster so big that it opens the door for us to come right back in.
It's a fascinating and very real possibility.
Well, we will be watching the situation incredibly closely. This war is just getting started.
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining us on the Deep Dive. We hope this cut through the noise and gave you the real story behind the headlines. Stay safe, stay informed, and watch the news. We'll catch you on the next one.